These chairs are new though, aren't they? Did you end up getting the?
So my mom actually had these chairs.
Oh, yeah.
I posted in a group, and she shot me a text. She's like, "Hey, I have 2 chairs that might work for you." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Send me a picture."
These are nice.
Yeah. And then she sent me a picture. I was like, "Yep, I'll take them. Save me a couple $100 from."
I was gonna say, how long you been using these ones?
Since the beginning.
Oh, was it since the very beginning?
She had them at her house before she
Nice.
moved, and they were in storage because her husband Luke had furniture already. She's like, "We'll just put them in storage because they're nice." Like,
Yeah.
Eventually, I'll get them reupholstered to like a different color or something that matches with the show more or something. But yeah,
what color would you make them if you could?
So that's a hard question. Originally I was like, let's do black with and then do gold pins on the side.
It does look classy.
But then I was like, I wear a lot of dark clothes, but I mean, when you're using lighting, it doesn't matter. So I was like, I don't know, maybe like an odd color, because one of my colors is kind of like a orangish, pinkish color. And I was like, well, that would be unique, but how long could I stand that color for before I'd be like, all right, I'm done with these color chairs? So it would have to be a neutral color, but I like the idea of doing something like maybe navy blue, something like dark navy blue, and then maybe changing the back wall.
That'd look good too.
Changing things up a bit. Maybe for the 100th episode, I'll do a whole revamp of the show.
Whole brand new thing at that point. You're like, all right, we got to change it up. It's been going well.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's fun though. But yeah, with audio, it's like I'll just use a Zoom recorder to capture it. But then I was like, being in filming, it's like I need a backup. So now I have a recorder tapped into the Zoom that's plugged into the center camera just in case it's like a backup.
Yeah.
If something ever happens, at least I'm still capturing audio. And so yeah, it's
all the weddings you've done.
Backups on
backups.
Backups on
backups.
backups.
We're good.
Yeah, dude.
That's smart.
You know how it goes. You do DJing and
do.
stuff. So yeah, so we got DJ Zanril.
That is the DJ name. Yes.
So I was wondering, is that your stage name kind of?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with it.
Where did Zanril come from?
So it is my first D&D character that I played was named Zanril, and so I used that to create my DJ moniker.
D&D Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, Dungeons and Dragons.
So I've actually
it's very nerdy.
Oh, I know, but I watched a quick short on Dungeons and Dragons, and there was some girl explaining it to a guy. It was like maybe 40 seconds.
Yeah,
but it got me thinking. I think I want to play some D&D.
It's a lot of fun. So I don't know if I ever would have gotten into it if my my buddy had not said, just one time, he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm thinking about getting a group together to play D&D. And I was like, well, I've played one time with somebody else that played regularly, and it was just it was fun. I was intrigued by it, but the fact that he wanted to go in there and be the DM, and he created this group, and we went at it for a few years. We were meeting.
It can be a long
monthly
game.
And created this long story. It was a lot of fun.
Because that's what it is. It's story based.
Absolutely.
And your characters can develop certain attributes about them, and kind of so that's what I found really fascinating that I did not know about D&D.
Never tried it before, huh?
You never tried it, but I'd totally be down for it to learn and take a night to have some fun with it, because I didn't know it was very story based.
Yeah.
And you can create as you go, and
it's really anything. I mean, it's all based on the group that you're playing with, for sure. You're kind of creating the story as you go, and then the dungeon master is just kind of responding to what the rest of the group wants to do. And so that's the basis.
That was just super intriguing. So when you came in, I had Stranger Things playing.
Yes.
So they're huge on D&D, and it was at that time when D&D was this cult, game, and parents were against it.
Absolutely.
And, all the characters and whatnot. So
man, it's fun. You definitely gotta try it out sometime for sure.
I know there's a local collector store. They host, I think, D&D games once a month.
Nice.
But actually, I don't think my nephew will listen to this, but I just got my nephew old school Pokemon comic books for him. He's obsessed with Pokemon. But yeah, it was cool. Great.
We've all got the phase that we go through with Pokemon at some point. That's I'm sure you had your Pokemon
I went through the phase. We were just too broke to buy cards. So
Fair enough.
I'd show up at elementary school and all my friends would have cards. Oh, that's so cool, Cool. Or Magic the Gathering. That was another big one.
That was college for me. I had a bunch of college friends that played Magic the Gathering, and so that was when I started a little bit. I had a little card collection.
Okay.
But let's see. Pokemon for me was definitely elementary school for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's when everybody had the cards, playing the Game Boy games.
Yeah.
Like I played so many of them. Started with Yellow though. That was my OG. Like I was
Okay.
there for Pokemon Yellow.
Okay. That's cool. Well, introduce yourself.
Sure,
Let people
yeah.
know who you are, what you do, and
So my name's Nick, and as he already said, I'm a DJ. I am a middle school teacher. I am a recent podcast host as well. Finally got started with that with a buddy of mine. I'm sure we'll get into that at some point.
Yep.
Let's see what else. I guess a little bit of everything. I dabble in videos and photography and that sort of thing a little bit, and having some fun with that. I've been managing the social media account for our podcast, so that's kind of been something that I've delved into a little bit. I guess the way that I put it is I'm a man of many interests. My interests are a mile wide. I'm not sure how deep all of them go.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I'm a husband and a father to 2 young kids. So like just a lot of stuff that I feel I don't know, that makes up, I guess, my identity. A follower of Christ. All of it is a part of it.
Just
Yeah,
all the things.
that's
wide.
what makes me.
Yeah.
That's I don't know how to like describe myself. I'm not good. I remember, so just to give you an idea, I remember being in like plays and stuff, and you had to like write your own biography. I always hated doing that because I'm never sure like, what do I say? You know? So these days I rely on AI to help me. Like, all right, what parts do I want to
Yep.
actually mention? What's relevant to what I'm doing?
I've used AI a lot just to help with the language of things. Because like sometimes I want to sound more sophisticated, so I'll type something out to like make it sound more sophisticated, and it'll just
help this sound better.
Oh man, it's crazy. AI is just out of this world.
It is wild for sure.
Yeah,
it is a great.
So, how long you been married?
You know what? We just celebrated 10 years.
Nice.
Just what was it? So today's about a week and a half ago.
Congratulations,
so,
man.
Thank you.
Fun.
I appreciate
How old
that.
are you now?
I'm 30. What am I now? What's the year? 25. I guess I'm 33.
Okay.
I forget these days, honestly.
Me too, man. I'm a year older than you. I'm 34, and I can't remember what I did 2 days ago.
Dude, it's embarrassing to say, but I guess I don't spend too much. Like after I hit 30, it was like, well, I'm not even really counting that much anymore.
I rely on my Google Calendar.
I have to look at the year. And like, all right, how old am I? I gotta do the math.
If I don't put it in the calendar, I probably won't remember.
For sure.
Like I just could be the time of season I'm in with business that like I'm just so like label everything out, but now it's like if I don't add it to the calendar, I'll forget.
Dude,
like,
I feel
I'll just go about my day, and somebody will text me be like, "Hey, are we still getting lunch?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yes.
I'm 5 minutes away at the light."
Yes.
And I'll just zoom out there. But yeah, I love
live and breathe by my Google Calendar these days. So now it's
calendars.
like, if you got the family portion there, you share your calendars, and then stuff starts appearing. Like, oh, this is what my wife's up to. I gotta consult her calendar too, and my own.
Yeah, that's funny. So how long you been DJ for?
I started back in 2017. I think 2018 was like my first season where I was actually going out and doing events.
And what got you into it?
Well, you actually had him on the podcast a few episodes ago. Jamar was he brought me in. He knew that I was a teacher, and was like, yeah, like if you're ever looking for a side hustle that you can get some money in the summertime, like that's when the weddings are usually. Like you can get a lot of weddings in the summertime. So he kind of got me in with that, and like I've kind of really enjoyed the just all the aspects of it. I mean, working with clients and all that. I really have had such a great time relating to all of my clients and just trying my best to make sure that I'm providing them with just a superior service that they're going to appreciate and remember that night. So I really have enjoyed being a DJ quite a bit.
Yeah, no, you're great at it. I worked a few weddings with you, and then covered a wedding, just building you a promo, and it's super professional. And it's always fun when I see DJs like really getting into the mix. Actually, we just worked a wedding.
Yeah, we did
a week ago.
Yeah, not long ago.
Yeah, but
that one was a hot one too. It was a hot one. Outdoor mostly.
Yeah,
and very hot.
Yeah, Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Is when we worked at, because my wedding last Saturday was a hot one. That was a hot wedding day.
I believe you.
But luckily, the reception was indoors, which the AC was very beneficial. Yeah, I actually bought like a jetpack neck fan.
That's a good investment.
Dude, best $60 I ever spent. And it has a little kickstand. I meant to send you a link. So I'll send you a link.
Do it
after we're done with this, because it has a little tripod. You can set it up on your DJ booth, and I'm telling you, man, it's a powerful little machine for $60. And it level 10 full blast. I think it'll last maybe 3.5 hours.
Okay,
and
that's not bad.
I'm telling
you. I haven't invested. I knew that they existed, like those little personal air conditioners, but I never really thought. I'm like, you know what? That would be a good thing to have.
Yeah,
these, like,
for
DJ
hot days.
Now that you mentioned, it's like, man, I'm gonna have to buy one.
I know.
Sure.
I for years, like I've been at this for almost a little over 7.5 years. Never thought to buy a neck fan for the hot days. It's like, what are you doing, Sam? Like, get with the program.
For sure.
But that's fun. Yeah. So DJing, teaching, and what grades and topic or subject?
So I've always been at the middle school level. For the past several years, I've been at 8th grade. Has been like my majority of time. A little bit of 7th grade thrown in there, but that's been the majority of my time. I've always stuck between 6th and 8th grade.
Okay.
So, but I teach language arts. I actually just got a new job, so I'm going to be in Licking Heights. And going to be teaching 6th grade language arts there. So I'm really excited and a little bit nervous, honestly, because 6th grade it's just different. Like, I worked in a building that was 6th through 8th grade, and so the 6th graders were the youngest ones, and I did teach the 6th graders for a time. I was a gifted intervention coordinator. Gifted intervention specialist, I should say. The coordinator was the person that was above me. So I taught all of the kids that were identified as gifted. And so that was all 3 grade levels in the building. I was there. If they were identified as gifted, they came through my classroom. So I did 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And it was a little bit different feel, like when you've got the youngest kids in the building. So these 6th graders, you got the 7th and 8th graders in the building. They're definitely the littlest, and it stands out. This new job that I'm taking is it's a 5th and 6th grade building. So the 6th graders are actually the older ones in the building. It's a little bit. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be a different feel. So I'm excited, but definitely feeling a little bit of nerves about it as well.
Yeah. How big are these classes?
You mean just like in general, like average?
Just an average.
It's hard to say. I've had anywhere over the course of my career, I have been as small as like I think 12 kids in a class. All the way up to when I started my career, I was actually teaching in Arizona. And their class sizes were huge. I think my biggest one was somewhere around like 33, 34 kids in a class. Wow. So I've kind of had the spectrum. I've been lucky enough the past several years to have pretty small class sizes. Like this past year, I had one class that I think if everybody showed up on the first day, I would have had 30, but by the end of the year, midway point of the year, whatever, I was closer to like the 25, 26.
That's
and
still
then I had
a lot
another,
of kids, though.
I had another one that was like 15. So that's kind of like, that's been the range. I think my favorite's somewhere around like 20. I think 20 is like a good number.
A happy medium.
Yeah. Like it's not, there's plenty of kids in the class. You can do a lot of things with it, but, yeah, it's not too many. I think once you start getting too much into the high numbers, it's just not as manageable. Not everybody's getting the same amount of teacher attention. So I'm always a huge advocate for lowering class sizes in public school for sure.
What made you choose language arts?
I wasn't good at math.
Okay.
No,
you and me both.
No, I guess the big thing was like I didn't want to teach math, and I wasn't like too great about my science. So when I went to college, I went into middle childhood education. So I was very like particular because you had, at the time there were really like 3 things you could do. You could do, I guess technically there was a pre-K license. You could get your kind of your elementary school license, which was mostly like K to 4. You could get like a 5-6 endorsement. And then the middle childhood was 4th through 9th grade. And then you had an integrated, which was a single subject. So you had to choose one of the subjects. It could be math, ELA, history, science. And that was a 7 through 12. So I was very particular, and like I recognize that these kids at this age, in the middle of it, they kind of get a bad reputation almost. Like, no, you hear it all the time. Like, people tell me the first thing that when they hear that I'm a middle school teacher, it's like, oh, God bless your heart. Like, I can't believe you do that. Like, that takes somebody special. And it's because, like, truly, they're tough.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just like teenagers and stuff like that. They are moody. They are grumpy. They're
developing into that teenage era, So yeah,
So I chose it very specifically kind of for that reason, because it was hard, because I felt like they were the ones that were overlooked. You got the elementary school students that are, they're young still, like teachers and everybody, like everybody's real involved. The parenting at that age, like the parents are still pretty involved in the early ages. And then by the time kids are going on into high school, like they're worried about college. You've got like teachers that are really like trying to build into them and help them get to reach their goals like that. But a lot of times the 7th and 8th graders and 6th graders are kind of overlooked. I thought about my own experience as a 6th grader. That was probably my roughest year as a kid, was just like my 6th grade year, really trying to figure myself out. And so I felt strongly that I wanted to be in that age range as a teacher.
Have you always wanted to be a teacher?
No, actually. So when I was in high school, I went a couple different directions. I started out like kind of my early days. I want to be a lawyer. That was like initially, like I thought, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go to law school, be a lawyer. That was on my mind, I would say, up until I was in high school. And I took what was it? It was a psychology class. It was because my high school did offer one as like one of the electives, and I really, really enjoyed that. So I thought for a short time, I was like, maybe I'd like to get involved with psychology in some way and do something with that, be a counselor or something like that. I was still kind of like I was toying with that idea, but as I went into college, I actually went in as a double major of psychology and criminal justice were my two areas. And I was kind of thinking, well, I could maybe go a couple different paths with that. I could, if I wanted to, go like a counseling route, or I could potentially take that and go on and maybe become a lawyer or something. It was my freshman year of college. I can remember my parents telling me that I had to finish in 4 years. Like it was out of the question that I was going to do like a 5th year college. That wasn't happening. The super senior, any of that. So, they told me that, and I was really nervous. I felt like this calling from God that like, hey, I've got a different path for you. I've got something else that I want for you to do. And I really, up until that point, had never considered being a teacher. Like it hadn't been something that had crossed my mind. I wish, thinking back on it now, it's hard for me to put into words exactly what it was that like set me on that path, because it wasn't something that I'd just been thinking about forever. I had expressed a desire to be a teacher at some point. I hadn't. But I felt something. It was a calling that I felt, and it was strong. And part of it came from like I recognized that the other career paths that I had considered were it was more like I was going to be married to my work. You know what I mean? Like lawyers work long hours, and counselors get that's what they do. Like you're gonna have to go to school for a long time and do all this, and it's very career driven, that sort of thing. And the Lord kind of revealed to me that like I've got something else for you. I kind of want you to be a family man. I want you to have that. And like, that was part of, I think, that call there. I started to realize like, you know what, I've got this different feeling that I want something else out of my life that so that was kind of, I guess, where that came from. And I, I don't know. It's, I guess even thinking about it right now, it's definitely strange. Like you asked me that question, I'm like, no, I didn't.
It's just something you kind of just walked into
in a sense, in
a way.
Yeah,
kind of just
but I felt really strongly about it. I did. I'll tell you this, like, and this is how I know that like I'm still on the right path.
Yeah.
So I did. After I graduated college, I got my teaching degree. Did get out in 4 years miraculously. I changed early enough that it didn't impact me too bad. I think I only took like 2 or 3 classes that I didn't have to take, and so I was able to kind of make that up over time. So I got out in 4 years. and then started my career. I went to college at Mount Vernon Nazarene University, so here in Ohio, but went to a career fair in the it was Ohio Northern University, I think. It was a huge career fair with lots of places from all over the country. Went in there and interviewed with you kind of if you've never been and like done something like that. I mean, I don't know if have you been to a career fair before? Or?
I'm pretty sure I have once or twice because I went to a tech prep college.
Yeah.
So kind of going to navigate, seeing like all the things. I don't know if it's the same thing, but
I'm sure it's probably similar.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was specifically for teachers and things like that.
Okay.
So when I went to this, it was all different school districts from across the country.
Okay.
And they essentially do like a screener interview there, so you can like sign up and do all these different interviews with these different just school districts throughout the country, wherever you want, and set it up with them. And so I did that and filled out my card, interviewed with several places, talked to different people, networked, and all that good stuff. And I got 2 different calls from school districts in Arizona. The first one was from a place called Ajo, which is which nobody's heard of. It
sounds like a pirate. Ajo,
it's all the way like South Arizona, so
Okay.
very near the border. I think probably less than an hour from the border.
Okay.
Kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Sounds like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yes. And I considered it. Like when they gave me the offer, it was the first, real job offer that I had gotten. I was like, maybe, like, I don't know. I hadn't said no completely. Then I got another call from Glendale Elementary School District.
Okay.
And that's near Phoenix, obviously the biggest city in Arizona.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, that's kind of weird that both of these like places out in Arizona really want me to come out there and work. And at the time I was dating my wife. We weren't engaged yet. I think we were about ready to be engaged.
Okay.
And she kind of told me that, this is the time, like we're getting out of college. It's a good time that we could actually go out and live someplace else for a time.
Yeah.
So went out and lived in Arizona for 3 years. And that's where I started my career at. And then after, I guess this is a long detour off of it, but I did the reason I was sharing it is because after I went and taught out there for 3 years, I thought I was going to quit.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was going to be done. And when I came and moved back
Those
to
6th
Ohio,
graders got to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I was feeling like run down. I was like, can I do this? Is this really what's the Lord has in store for me?
Yeah.
Is it really going to be what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And I really wasn't certain. I wasn't like 100% like, yeah, I want out of education, but we were looking at moving back to Ohio, and it just so happened that like I was looking at jobs that were outside of the realm of education just because I wanted to have something when we came back, and I was thinking maybe I might not want to do it anymore. So I went and I did, I was a salesman for AEP Energy for about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
And I did that it was in 2017, we moved back to Ohio, and I started like as soon as we moved back to Ohio. I was working in that job for a while, and I immediately got sucked back. Like I missed it. I missed being an educator, and my wife is also a teacher. She found out about a position that was open in her district. They were having trouble filling, and she told me about it, and I was like, I could do that. Like it's in my area of expertise.
Yeah.
I could certainly go and take that job, and I did. And the love kind of came back into me. Like I knew at that point that I was in the right place doing the right thing.
Okay.
So I felt very certain about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's super exciting. So Arizona and then moving back to Ohio. Now have you worked for the same school district?
I did. So up until just the end
now,
of this, and end of this school year, I was working in Groveport.
Okay.
And just technically, I still work for Groveport until the end of July, but I've turned in my resignation. I'm going to be working for Licking Heights moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's exciting. Side question: how'd you meet Jamar?
Because
Because Jamar's a huge connector guy. I feel like he knows everybody, and he's always out to lunch with people, and the dude just loves hanging out with people. Like he's just a connector.
So Jamar's my cousin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I knew that.
So Jamar's adopted from the Philippines, and his mom is my dad's sister.
Okay.
So that's how. Yeah. So I've known Jamar pretty much since he came to America. I was one of the first people he met, so he's been stuck with me ever since.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I remember that. That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, teaching during the school months and then DJing in the summertime. How much DJ work are you taking on in the summer? And you don't only do weddings, right? You'll do some corporate stuff as well.
Yeah, I'll do a little bit of everything, honestly. What I've found, and I'm sure maybe you've realized this too, it seems to me that there's less and less weddings in the summertime. Like they're all in like the spring and fall these days. Like I can remember this past October, I could have worked every single weekend in October and probably a double most of those weekends because of how popular that's getting. For a time, I feel like June really was like the most popular month.
Yeah, I thought June was top tier.
Yeah,
for a lot of couples.
And I think at this point, I feel like there's hardly any weddings in July. Like people just don't want to get married in the July heat in
August.
Ohio.
I feel like. I mean, I have a couple in July, a couple in August. But again, I don't know if it's the heat.
Yeah.
I don't know if people they're done dealing with the heat of things, or they're just.
I mean, I'll say like
just
fall
changing.
in Ohio is kind of nice.
It is.
You know, like it is a good season.
Full 7 days we get it. Then it's just rain. We have 2 weeks of rain, 1 week of gorgeous leaves and perfect weather, and then we're back to 2 more weeks of rain.
And then somewhere in between there's like a week of like incredible heat.
Yes.
Like, it's September and it's 90 degrees.
Yep. And then by 5 p.m. we're having 2 inches of snow.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Welcome to Ohio.
That's the way it goes. Yeah. No. So I did, like I said, when I took it on as a DJ, it was because like, oh yeah, I want to do these summer events. I want to do mostly stuff during those months when I'm not working. I mean, I still get paid through the summer as a teacher because.
Okay, so what's that called? Because I know teachers have an option.
Some districts.
Okay.
So some districts you can only opt to get your full entire paycheck throughout just the months that you're working.
School year.
Yeah. But most places, and I think they've just, most people want to get paid through the summer. They want to have some money there. So most places, like mine, split up into 24 equal payments throughout the entire year. So I get paid twice a month.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was kind of the idea is like I wanted to be able to make some extra money. And, it's been not quite as like it's been. I do a lot of work still during the school year. I try to limit it as much as I can, but I mean, between I'm sure like you meet with clients and stuff like that, and so client meetings, and then I'll get the occasional spring consideration there that people want to book me for those February, March events or September, October, November. But yeah, I'll do any of them. These days I'm trying to kind of spread it out more. This is my busiest year with 20 weddings. It was a bit much. Yeah, for me it was a bit much with 2 young kids. I wanted to do it for another year, maybe 2, but I was like, I can't. I'm going to have to scale it back. And so next year, I've pretty much decided I'm going to be somewhere like to the realm of 8 to 10.
Okay.
10's like the hard cutoff, but like 8's, where I'd like to be,
I'd say. It still has time for family and doing other things.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
And then in addition to that, I don't know if you know this or not, but I also host trivia. That's another thing that I've gotten involved with.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where do you host trivia at?
Old North Arcade.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fun time. My buddy, he created a company called I Drink and I Know Things Trivia. Shout out.
Go ahead and give a shout out again.
That's just, I Drink and I Know Things Trivia. He is all over Columbus, best trivia company in Columbus. So if you're looking for a place, search it up for sure. We've got several different spots that we're hitting up. So he created the company, and as he got bigger and really popular, there were people that were coming to him that were like, "Hey, can you also host here?" And he's like, "Well, I'm already hosting on all these days. Like I don't have another day during the week free to host trivia anywhere else."
Okay.
He brought me in, was like, "Hey, I've got this place. They were asking me if I could host trivia there. I'm not available. Would you want to take it on?"
Okay.
And so I've been doing that for a while. It's a lot of fun.
That's
I
cool,
really enjoy it. It's low pressure, especially comparing it with weddings. Like weddings are kind of high pressure.
Yes.
They are stressful. You put a lot of time into that. This one is kind of like, all right, I show up, my buddy sends me the game. I get to just have fun hanging out and talking to people.
Yeah.
And that's really that's
cool.
the gist of
Okay,
it.
I didn't know you did that. Do they offer a lot of like pop-ups, or are they established as certain locations?
Established.
Okay.
He's got I don't know if you've ever been to Planks before. He hosts
Heard of
at
it.
one of there's several Planks around. He hosts at Planks. Have you heard of Crooked Can in Hilliard?
Mm-mm.
It's a huge. If you've never been to Crooked Can, it's a really cool place. It's like I don't even know how to describe it. There's what you've been to Bud Dairy? Have you heard of that one?
No.
Essentially, these are places where like it's like a food hall.
Okay.
So they've got like a bar, and then there's what are essentially like little cabinets. I don't know. That's not a good way to put it. How can I say it? Like stands, I guess, with different food truck kind of things there.
Yeah, okay.
So you can kind of go and get your drink. There's kind of like a common area there to sit in.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch of other places around that you can kind of go and grab. And at Crooked Can, they've got a huge patio.
That's cool.
They do. I mean, on other nights of the week that aren't trivia, they're doing live music out there on the patio. They've got all kinds of.
There's a joint here called the Sandbar that kind of reminds me. Of that.
Yeah.
So they have I think they have 2 volleyball courts in the sand, but then they have a patio for music, but then they have a big parking lot where they'll invite, 5, 6, 7, 8 food trucks on the weekends. And it's just, it's a party there every weekend. The neighbors are not happy.
I'm sure.
They are not happy. They've made it very clear on some Facebook groups. The neighbors are not happy with it. It's
unfortunate. Noise, I like, supporting those small businesses.
So do I, because who doesn't love a good food truck?
Absolutely.
I'll go there. Give me a taco.
Yes.
Hit me up with that sriracha goodness, yo. Yeah. So that's cool, man. So you're a busy guy.
I'm telling you. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of in the process of scaling back on some things. I'm really, I'm taking fewer events DJing. I'm kind of going to take a step back, at least for a small time with trivia in the next couple months here. But I've been doing it now for a little bit. Yeah, about a month, a little bit more longer than a year.
Okay.
That I've been at it. So kind of that's been a weekly thing, which takes away one of my evenings. I'm not there for bedtime with the kids and all that. So I'm kind of in the process of scaling back on some of those things that are keeping me away more. But yeah, I still do enjoy it. I don't want to quit entirely and say that I'm never going to do it again, but just the kids are small. I'm needed at home.
Yeah.
That's the best way that I can put it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I guess too, the nice thing is, the hit or miss pros and cons is trivia night. Like you can show up, but then once you go home, your work is done.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with DJing weddings. Like there's a lot of pre-conversations in the mix before the night of the event, but after the event, boom, you're done. Yep. But the downside is it's typically on Fridays or Saturdays or Sundays, which is the weekend time to go out and have family time and all these things. But yeah, I kind of envy DJs because they can show up, set up, and then once the night's over, they just tear down and go home and their work is done.
That's a good point. I didn't really think about it that way. You've got still most of your work is just starting. And you're still there for most of the night too.
Yeah, it's just like, man, now I got more work to do. So, but it comes with the job. It comes with the territory.
Mine tends to be on the front end. That's the the preparation and stuff. And I'm not gonna say, man, like prepping a playlist. I don't know. You guys, you impressed me with the amount of time, like what you can pop out in the short amount of time with these videos and stuff like that. Because when I'm creating a video, I feel like I always spend ages on it, and it doesn't look near as good as Sam's. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of trial and error. So so like when I first started in the video business, it would take me 3 months. For a wedding video, and I would be like, you get in that space of like, oh, this is amazing. This is the best of the best. When you're starting out. Now I look back years later, I'm like, Sam, you buffoon. Like, why did you spend this much time? But it's all part of the learning process.
So how long on average does it take you now to put out a...
Contractually, 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay.
More realistically, maybe 6 weeks. Because so the thing is with editing, and I'm sure you could probably relate to it in the same way with like a playlist, but with editing, you can get in the mode of like, I'll edit 2 minutes for a 10-minute highlight video. I'll think that 2 minutes is amazing with colors and frames and, the angles I'm using or the music or where the audio is placed. But then I won't touch it for a couple days. I won't even look at it. Well, then I'll go back after a few days and watch it and go, no, this could be better. This could be better. And so it's kind of like a building thing as you progress to the end of the video. But there's a lot of rework in editing videos just to ensure the couple's getting what they want and it's, still within your brand. I don't want to call it rework because it's not really reworking what you original had created, but there's a lot of pieces and aspects that you miss because you're so focused on that 2 minutes, and you think, and when you kind of let go of it for a few days and then you go back to it, you're like, oh, I could include these clips in this moment and then kind of rearrange this a little bit. And so it's just a process.
Yeah.
It's a process.
I can imagine.
But it's nice when it's officially done. So after like that 6 to 7 week mark, I won't look at it until like the last week, 10 days before the due date is coming up. Then I'll blow it up. I have a big TV in my office. I'll blow it up on the TV, stand back, and I'll watch it from beginning to end. And, you know, if I make notes, I'll take on my phone, make a note that like the time code and make little tweaks here and there. But that's the initial like final phase. And that can take anywhere from 2 to 5 hours.
And you're doing like multiple, like you've got multiple projects going at the same time.
Yeah, I got 4 weddings I'm working on right now. So
wow.
And that doesn't include the work with like Content Creator Pro. Like I have 2 big corporate videos I'm working on. And so I've learned I have to create space for like mental capacity. Because like when I first started out, it's like I felt valued enough or valued to be like work every day, 8 hours a day. You know, and it's like you can't do that with video editing.
Yeah.
Some days it's 2 hours. Some days you can get more done in 2 hours than you would in 10 hours of work.
Well, it's like an artistry thing, right? Like, I mean, sometimes, anything that's creative based, like sometimes you just like crank out stuff really quickly.
Yeah.
And other times it's not coming as
like it's
as
not
easy.
working today, Sam. Go watch Stranger Things or go get your 3 mile hike-in done wearing a hoodie, sweating your gonads off, you know? But yeah, it's all a process. I will say some weddings are really, really easy.
Yeah.
I can just bust them out. Other weddings, it just takes longer, you know?
Do you have, so like, this is something that I'd be really interested to know because I'm not in this line of work. Do you find that you have like a certain, I don't know, like almost like a template of the way that things get laid out, or is it constantly changing? Like, I guess, how do you keep yourself from like making the same video every single time? Like, how are you changing it, I guess?
I feel like within my own brand, I like to keep things routinely, but the style of the couple is what makes the difference for the video. The personalities of the couples and like the wedding party and the theme of the wedding or the colors of the wedding help separate the difference. So if you go back and watch all my videos, they're all relatively the same within the pages of Samuel Brand.
Yeah.
But what makes it different is the personalities of the couple. Okay. So when I cover a couple, it's like I tell them in like our pre-consultation before they book, they'll ask a question like, you know, what's your style? You know, how do you capture the couple? And that's honestly like one of my favorite questions because then I get to tell them like, hey, this is how this happens. Like every couple has a different personality from venue to, you know, how you get ready during the day. It changes my tone and like how hype I need to be on your wedding day to capture, you know, what you want. Cause some couples are like skyrocketed party, super talkative, high energy, you know, all the things, which makes, you know, my day pretty easy.
Yeah.
As opposed to some couples are just a little bit more reserved. They're excited, they're happy, but sometimes I have to give a little bit of like a hypeness you know, to their day to celebrate well. And it makes a difference for the footage too. And what's captured, and, you know, photographers can relate to it, you know, and hyping a couple up and having fun with them. But yeah, it comes down to like the personalities of the couple that help make each video different and uniquely for them.
Yeah.
So like I tell couples like, your wedding video is going to be blasted all over social media. Like people are going to love it. They're going to be happy for you. But 20 years later, when you go to watch it again, are you going to want your wedding video to be surrounded by everybody and what they experienced? Or do you want it to be about what you experienced on your wedding day? And I'd say 99% of the time, I'm like, oh yeah, that we never thought of that. We never, you know, and that's normal. Yeah. But to make a wedding video about the couple, even getting like interviews from guests or family members can make it about the couple. So there's a ton of creative ways to just surround, to make, I mean, you're making a documentary, basically a documentary video for the couple to have forever, you know, even 30 years down the road. Like, let's watch our wedding video. And that's
cool to think about it that way too. Because like I mean, Luminary Productions, that's the DJ company that I work with, and that's the same.
Lauren Miller, I dropped his name. I dropped his name all the time. The last podcast. One of my favorite people.
He's a great dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had a lot of conversations about this, about how much it's just about we do so many weddings. I'm sure that you can feel the same way. Like, it'd be really easy. Like, all right, I'm pumping it out kind of in the same exact way and making the same video or whatever, just with different people in the forefront of it.
Yeah.
Same thing with DJing. Like, you can get into that mindset of, oh, we're doing the same thing. It's not really changing that much. But I try and make it clear to my clients the same way that you do to yours. Is like, I'm telling, this is a story about you. Like, I want this to be personalized. Like, it's about what you like the most, not about like, I mean, I'm going to play the good wedding songs and the typical things that most people like to hear, but like, where can I throw in some of those little customizing points that are going to make it uniquely about who you are as a couple and as individuals?
Yeah.
So.
And as Lauren would always say, it's about providing an experience for the couple. I can I just hear his tone. I hear you saying that, Lauren.
Yes. It's like he's in the room.
I know, dude. It's crazy. But yeah, it is. It's all about providing an experience from the pre-consults to the pre-conversations to the day of, but then also afterwards. Because like, I'll tag vendors, you know, for the highlight videos, so they see and they get to, experience it again. And it's just about providing an experience. But that's, I feel like, where the pressure really comes into play, because if you miss a moment, it's gone. Yep. Like, if you don't have equipment working, like, you're screwed, there's some pressure on that. And but yeah, that's what I love, experience.
Do you find, so like, especially since you are a content creator too, like, do you find that, I mean, I've heard that it can be exhausting, I guess, that like it can get repetitive. It can be really tough to be in that. And I'm experiencing it somewhat myself as I'm trying to, grow an account and that sort of thing. Like, how does that impact you as somebody that literally, like, that is the whole entire job?
Yeah. And it's my whole life.
Yeah.
Besides having a wedding business, having Content Creator Pro is another business. And now podcasting, Bears Don't Fly, that's like another business aspect. So running 3 companies and creating content for all those 3 companies when you're in the busy season, I've learned you have to learn your organization style. So there's different styles. There's one, I forget, I gotta connect with my friend Sarah Bean, because she runs her own business. Shout out Altogether Lovely Home Staging and Redesign, phenomenal. But she actually, so when I was first redoing my office, I had her and her husband come over, and I just told them, I was like, just make it look good, make it look professional, like office setting. So they did shelving and picture frames with like landscapes and stuff. And since then I changed it. But she walked in there, and Mike was actually hanging that wood shelf above my TV there. And she was like, you're in, what'd she call it? Some type of organization. She said, you're like an open organizer.
Oh boy.
Or something like that. And I was like, an open organizer? And I was like, what does that mean? She goes, you have to see everything. She's like, it's organized and it's clean, but you have to see everything. I was like, oh yeah, 100%. And I didn't even know it. And so like with my editing dates and like getting things set on track, I have a whiteboard in there, and I'll show it to you if you want to see it.
Yeah. I'm really interested in this now.
It has the date of the event, the due date, the project. So if it's like weddings, I'll just write weddings. If it's CC Pro, I'll write the company's name, and then I'll put what they paid for in their contract, and then I'll put delivered, yes, no. And that helps me keep on track as far as due dates go, because I'm getting into the thick of editing right now. I need to be able to see that whiteboard every day when I go into my office and go, okay, I have 9 projects that need done, and here's the finish date, here's the due date for each project. So that helps me space out my time a little bit, to where if I have, if I'm going to an event with my nephews, or if I'm taking my nephew fishing or something, I can space that out to go, okay, I'll go fishing with him on this day. I'm going to edit. I'm going to sit down for 5 hours the next day and edit material. But then also being very niche related in the style of your editing. So like podcasting editing, it's 99% the same all across the board.
Sure.
Between each session, how I upload, how I document, how I organize every files, and
got a pretty good idea of like how long it's going to take you.
Yep.
And
yeah. And that again comes with experience too, just knowing how fast I can get through editing. And I do a lot of organization in the beginning, so that when it comes time to edit something, I know exactly where I'm pulling files, everything is labeled, categorized, organized, and it's a ebb and flow of things.
Yeah.
Beforehand, it was all chaotic. Like,
I was gonna say, when you were mentioning like organizational styles, I feel like mine is chaotic in a lot of my life. Now, when it comes to like DJing, I'm so thankful that like, man, it is. There's a system.
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is like when you deviate from the system, that's when it messes you up.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'll do, I mean, I work with Lauren at Luminary, and he's got, we use a platform called Honeybook. I'm not sure if that's the same that you use or not, but it's kind of like there's a workflow there, and you're kind of used to it.
Helps
like,
you keep track of things.
Exactly. And it's you know what's coming up, and I don't have to do a lot of thinking for it. Like that's part of the reason why I like working for a guy like Lauren, because he's keeping track of that.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of have to check in at the points when it's necessary with the meetings and things like that. But man, when when I'll do, occasionally somebody will ask me like, oh, will you do our event? And like, they're not going through Lauren. Like they just want me to come and do this thing or whatever. And then like I start, it gets me off a little bit because I've got this system, this flow. And then when I insert something else that's kind of outside of the flow that I've already got going, then that's when I run into issues where, just things slip through the cracks, and I'll forget to schedule a meeting that I was supposed to schedule 4 months out.
Yeah. I love a good system. So it's funny that you bring that topic up. So I was working with Leah from the Planning Bee, and I love the Planning Bee. We're shouting out a lot of business.
We are.
The Planning Bee. Karima, I'm bringing Karima on. I think Karima comes on this Saturday. I have her scheduled to come on.
I was going to say, you doing 3 podcasts this week? Didn't you just do one like yesterday or 2 days ago?
It's a busy week.
It is, man. That's crazy.
But keeping things scheduled and organized.
Are you on a weekly release schedule?
Am I what?
Weekly on this podcast? How often are
Pretty much. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. Now, so I'll be doing 3 podcasts this week, but they'll be backlogged for posting.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wanting
to get ahead.
Yeah, get ahead, totally. And so that way I have time and stuff. So, but if I'm free, it's like if the person's free on the day that I'm free, it's like, yep, I'll schedule you. Come on in. Even though I might not get to their material till 10 days later, 2 weeks later, at least we got things recorded.
Sure.
But yeah, back to the system thing. So I learned very early on, stick with what works.
Yeah.
And I changed up like the platforms I used a little bit for like getting digital questionnaires filed or contracts signed. Like that's solid now. But payments, receiving payment for a service, I bounced around with a few different things, and then I started using Stripe, and Stripe has been phenomenal because it's very easy, very well organized, and it works for me.
Sure.
So,
man, we should be getting paid for all these shout
right?
outs.
Yeah, man. We want $100 per business. No. But so, long story short, Leah contacted me and she's like, hey, are you free these 2 dates? There's a couple. And I was like, they want the rehearsal filmed and the wedding day filmed. They're like, they want this package. I was like, yeah, sure. So sometimes I'll get anxiety. It does make things easier half the time, but that's the industry. So like you just kind of you go with the flow of things. But she reached out. She's been my main source of contact to work with this couple, and then she shot me a text. She was like, hey, there's a gentleman and he wants to pay you, but he lives in so-and-so and he's in euros. So he needs to wire you the money. I've never dealt with a wire transfer before.
Is this for your other business? This is
No, this is weddings. This is
weddings?
Pages of Samuel.
Okay.
So she shot me a text. She's like, hey, they need your wire information. And she actually, I think
is it a destination wedding? Like, are you going?
No, it's in Hilliard.
Okay.
But the couple, I think, is like South African, and their uncle or dad was paying, and they're in somewhere where it's euros. I don't know if it's Europe, but I don't know. So we're on this phone call, and I'm like, Lee, I've never done a wire transfer before.
Right.
And she's like, it's legit. Like, here's like, we just need your information. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I'll send it to you, but I need to call my bank first. And she's like, okay. So I call my bank and talking with my bank, and they're giving me these secret codes for my account, which I'm not going to say because I ain't got time to get robbed, people. So, but again, it's derailing my system of just using Stripe to collect payments because it's a payment link. It's super simple, and
then you got to figure out something for a new system,
right?
Like,
now I'm figuring out.
But hey,
how
at
to
least then you've done it, and the next one that comes along,
I'm fully prepared. So long story short, I get the information this guy needs, and I send it to Leah. Leah sends it to him, and I don't hear nothing for like 5 days. And then I'm sleeping, and I get a call at 1 a.m, and it wakes me up, but I'm like, this is probably like a stupid telemarketer or something. I go back to sleep, I mute it. 30 seconds later, I get a call again, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's an emergency.
Sure.
Pick up. God bless this dude's heart. And he was like, hello, is this Sam? And I was like, yeah, this is Sam. Again,
I love the accent.
Again, I've never dealt with a wire transfer before. And he goes, yeah, I'm trying to send you this wire transfer, and it's not coming through. It was like, I sent 2 test deposits into your account. Like, let me know what the amount is, and I'll send the rest. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't be a scammer who got my information, and now I'm going to get robbed, and I'm going to wake up the next day with all my money gone. And I get out of bed, go to check my bank account, and I'm still on the phone with him. I'm like, yeah, sorry, sir. Like, I'm still not seeing anything. And he's like, oh, now I'm seeing it's going to take a few days for it to go through. And I was like,
I was sleeping.
How about this? I'll text you when it goes through. And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. And he's like, sorry for calling. I didn't realize how early it was where you were at and stuff. And I'm like, man, my anxiety is through the roof.
Yeah.
Again, great guy.
Yeah.
And I was on edge. It took about a week. And I was in conversation with Leah. I'm like, Leah, I still haven't seen anything. I'm just texting this dude every day, just letting him know, like, hey, I haven't gotten anything. And he'll just reply back, okay. Like, okay, thanks. Just please, God.
Yeah,
please
hopefully.
let this be a legit human being, Well, eventually he had to use like a middle company to exchange euros to US dollar.
Yeah.
And that took a little longer to process. And at some point I called my bank again. They actually, I don't know if what I was saying, they transferred me to their head of security.
Yeah.
And he was asking me questions. He was like, is this a legit contact that you shared your information with? And I go, yes. I was like, I'm working with a planner, worked with them before. It's legit. And he goes, everything is fine. He goes, but if there's anything missing or if anything, is removed, he's like, call me immediately.
Yeah.
And he gave me his office number, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is creating so much more anxiety than I like to have.
So do you have a system now, or is it still like, if you had to do it again, you'd be like,
if I had to do it again, I'd be good to go.
Yeah,
I'd be good to go. So my first wire experience was probably one of the most stressful things I've ever experienced. And what's funny is the night he called me at 1 a.m, I shot Leah a voice message. I was like, telling her, I was like, this is the guy. I was like, this is the guy I've been waiting for. And, and like she started laughing. And so it all worked out.
That's good.
It all worked out. It's all fine. But going back to systems, when you're a business owner, having a system is good. And all it takes is just one little hiccup or one little derail to go, all right, I guess I'm going to learn something new for the next 2 weeks,
No doubt. I can only imagine.
Yeah, honestly. It was. Yeah, all that to say, systems are good.
They are.
Systems necessary. Are needed, But yeah, I was just like, geez Louise.
Man, that's wild.
But it's funny. It's one of those experiences I'll never forget. I'm sure Leah will never forget, It's like, that's the way the cookie crumbles,
No doubt. Wow. No, I haven't had to deal with anything like that. I guess the nice thing being, I am self-employed, but I'm not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to put as much thought into those systems.
Yeah.
I'm, it's kind of existing for me. And mine is when it goes outside of that, when I'm doing something solo, that's when it starts to get out of there. And then, your livelihood is connected to this much more than mine. Like mine, it's a side gig. Like, okay, like I'll be upset if I don't get paid for a gig, but it's like it's not keeping the food off the table.
Yeah,
at least.
It is for me.
Yes, that'd be stressful. That's part of the reason. Like, my wife has asked me, like, oh, would you ever like do DJing full time? And people have asked me that before, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, there's just so much to consider when it comes to that. Some people are really good, and if you're that type of personality where you're so good at organizing and like just the way that you have to be.
I wasn't in the beginning.
Yeah,
like I had to learn all of that.
And I've talked to another guy. He so he does radio and as a contractor and is working for different stations throughout the United States.
Okay.
And you know, I mean, he pointed out, one of the things that he pointed out was like tough about like the self-employment, just anytime that you own a business, whatever, like you know, I work for a school district and you know, just jobs in general, right? Like if I'm not working, if I'm slacking off or whatever, like I'm still, you know, like the paycheck's kind of still coming in, like
guaranteed
I'm not
pay,
exactly. You know? Whereas like, you know, if you're self-employed, and this is what he pointed out, is like if you're not doing the work, you're not getting paid for it. You know, like it's you're not collecting the money for that. So it's such a hustle, man. Like I admire it, and like would love to have, I don't, like, I know there's a lot of flexibility, I guess,
and that's one of the most rewarding pieces in being like, because I would look at you and go like, yeah, you're an entrepreneur, like you do this side hustle, you do the things, but there is so much flexibility but also freedom involved in running your own business. And once you tweak out everything, and you'll have hiccups. Yeah. It's 100% guaranteed. You're gonna have hiccups. But the journey and just learning how to do it well is super rewarding. Super rewarding. Changing gears a little bit. Let's talk about your new podcast.
Yes.
Fandoms?
Fandom of Fandoms. Yes.
Fandom of Fandoms.
Yes.
What is fandom?
So fandom, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. Like when you think about just the things that people are into. I mean, it can be anything. We're kind of looking at just the things that people are most passionate about.
Okay.
You know, obviously in our minds we're thinking like pop culture and things like that, but I mean, it can fandoms of, I mean, to me, sports is a fandom, you know? I mean, like it can be all encapsulating in everything. But the way that it actually came to be is my friend Ben. He's the one that came up with the idea. He was made a list of like all of the things that we have either a passing interest in or you know, we really have conversations about and that sort of thing that we could talk about. And he was thinking about, it was actually, I think it was during COVID that he came, you know, he was kind of thinking like, well, there's a lot of podcasts that are being developed at this time. A lot of people, you know, just everybody's starting one. He's like, if I was going to start one, what would I do? Yeah. And he considered just like that was the idea that kind of came to him, is like talking about just a lot of different things, because we just have such a wide variety of interests. Okay. So yeah, fandom to me is really anything. We've started out with, you know, one nerdier fandom, you know, Star Wars, obviously. And
which is a great start. If you're going to do, you know, a fandom podcast, start with one of the greatest,
most recognizable for sure.
Yeah.
And then I just actually did the Bluey episode. I led that yesterday. So I was like, in honor of that, I'll wear my Bluey shirt, which now that I'm feeling like we did that official signing of documents and everything, am I going to, you know, I don't want to tick off any of the sponsors or anything. We're going to have to cover up my shirt so that it's not visible, no visible logos.
I'll let you know.
I did break the rules.
I'll let you know.
Broadcasting. But no, anyways, that's what we've done so far, and we're kind of looking into kind of similar to you, like we want to have a guest that we're inviting in to talk to each time, that's going to maybe in some ways like educate us about a fandom. But we're hoping to get that in line and starting to line up those guests. And so that's been something that we're just now stepping into for sure.
It's fun. It's a really fun thing to bring people on and just hear, you know, what they're passionate about or their level of like expertise in things. And like if I was to ask you about DJing and how to start a DJ company or how to even become a DJ, I'm sure you'd have a slew of information to talk about and express. So pop culture. So going into like experiences or your knowledge. So like, do you talk about like comic books, DC, Marvel, like all of those things, or is this like 90s?
We're hoping
80s
to get
era?
into it for sure.
Okay.
Marvel obviously is so big. So like kind of like with Star Wars, it's such a large IP
Yeah.
that and we're passionate about it too. So we were kind of like, this was I don't know, we were being we love to talk about Star Wars, so we just wanted to not say like, oh, we're going to talk about the broad sense of all of Star Wars, because you could talk for ages, but instead we said, hey, our first episode, we're just going to talk about original trilogy stuff.
Yeah.
And really tried to focus our conversation in on that. And then
Now, is that like the Harrison Ford era?
yes.
Okay.
So then that branches us out so that, as time goes on, if we want to come back and revisit Star Wars, we've still got all of this other aspects of it that we could still, we could do just one episode about the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy and all of that stuff. So that was kind of what we were thinking. I'm thinking like Marvel's kind of similar. There's a lot of just property around that, so it'd be really hard to talk about all of it in like one. We'd probably have to break it up into certain I mean, maybe we'll do an episode at some point that's like phase 1 of Marvel, or like the first few phases, I don't know, in which we're kind of talking.
You know what would help? I'm gonna throw in my 2 cents
What's
here.
that?
A whiteboard.
You
need a whiteboard listing out all of your topics and then subcategories to those topics.
So we do have a Google Doc, because that's what my buddy initially sent me, was a Google document filled with all of these topics that were have some level of passion on. And so it's kind of been evolving over time since we actually started producing the podcast. We've been adding to it. We've been trying to brainstorm like who are some potential guests that we could bring in to talk about these different topics. So we do have a whiteboard of such. It's just not
it's a digital.
It's a digital whiteboard. It's a team workspace. We'll call it that way.
Yeah,
right?
That works.
No, it's been great though. I mean, we're kind of figuring out. I mean, none of us have done. We bring a wealth of experience in a lot of different areas that I think lends itself to podcasting, but none of us have had any real expertise in podcasting.
Okay.
I've
watched your first episode.
Appreciate that, man.
Looks great.
Thank you.
It looks kind of like the same, like simple setup.
Yeah.
Just get in some mics, get your gear, equipment, some lighting, and then just start talking.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, no, we kind of laid it out, like the goal. We've got a basic structure, I guess is the way I would describe it. Like we have some ideas. It's hard when you're going to be talking about a lot of different fandoms to like really say, all right, hey, we've got segment A, B, C, D.
I got you.
But we do have a basic like outline that we're operating under, and then we're adding into that outline. That's actually where AI, I'm saying, like it's helped me a lot in the podcasting journey and just trying to develop the ideas for it. Like I've got a big long conversation that I've had with ChatGPT, in which it's helped me to like how should we structure the episodes, and what are some ideas about how we can promote, and I've taken a lot of those ideas. Some of them I've obviously adapted and changed, and some of them we've just omitted altogether, but like really it's been such a game changer of like I don't even know without that if it would be possible. Like I said, there's a depth of knowledge, but we don't have the amount of like just I don't know, the background to
like
know
how
exactly
to
how
it,
it would
build
exactly.
the foundation out and structure it.
So AI has been helpful to me in that endeavor for sure. I know my buddy Ben, he's not as big into the AI, and it's because he's a creative, like he's a graphic designer, so he definitely is more like.
Let's use the creative piece.
I'm not feeling it. And he'll use it for certain tools and like expanding backgrounds and such. But like, as far as like creating the outlines and things like that, I asked him because I just finished, like I said, the Bluey episode. We just recorded it last night. I used AI to help me develop the outline, and then I kind of went in and made my tweaks and stuff to it. And I was like, so you're gonna have AI help you write, because he's doing our next episode, which is actually going to be on Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to get into that next. But he was I asked him, I was like, are you going to use AI to help you develop that outline? He's like, no, I'm gonna create this the old-fashioned way. And I was like, dude, bravo, because like I needed some support. I've got 2 small kids at home. I was like, let me find something that's going to help me create this and have it at least partially there. And that's the way and I operate like that so much.
Okay.
Like even in education too. Like I'm the same way. I am so bad. Like if I'm looking at a blank space,
Mm-hmm.
it is so hard for me to like just create from scratch.
Really?
I'm so much better when there's something that's already there and I can kind of make the tweaks. I can adjust and change it and see like, oh, does this fit my needs and that sort of thing. So it's the same thing with if I'm coming up with a lesson plan, like I'll go and I'll look at what other people have done and like what do I like, and then how can I kind of take this and maybe tweak it. Maybe I just like it as it is, and I'm just going to use that and kind of put my own spin on it as my own, because we're each our own person, right? Like I'm not going to do it the same way that somebody else does, but you know, I don't know. That's me as a whole. Like I think I get overwhelmed with like just a blank space, and like I spin my wheels so much that I have trouble getting started.
That makes sense.
That's the nice thing about when it comes to like AI, when I can have it start me off. I've got a space. Now let me take what's there and see like, oh, can I adjust? Can I make this something that's going to be more uniquely me, but not necessarily having to just like, all right, well, I came up with everything myself. So
okay, that's
I don't know.
good to
That's
know.
my creative process, I guess.
Hey, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody operates differently. I know for a fact I've probably been there a few times and just struggling being creative. So like, let's have Chat GPT help me out a little bit, you know, as far as creative flow and ebb and flow. But one thing I love about AI is it does kind of fuel the spark once you see examples or see ideas to where you can still change and tweak things to make it uniquely relatable to you. Yeah. So like that in that aspect, 100%. Like I think that's a super resourceful tool to use.
Absolutely.
When it comes to pop culture, so you just did a show about Bluey.
Mm-hmm. You got any background knowledge in Bluey?
I know nothing about Bluey.
So now you've got to watch the episode.
You can learn things. But it's a kid show, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what pieces did you talk about Bluey? Like give me an example.
So we started out, the first thing we did is kind of just going into the basic overview of what the show is. You know, for the uninitiated, we're kind of like, hey, let's just talk about it. What is it? You know, we talked about how it was a children's TV show and who it was created by and when it's been running and kind of the format of the episodes and all that. So kind of introducing that to the audience. Then let's see, the next part was, I'm trying to remember the segments of the show. So we kind of talked about specific to me because I was the guest on that episode. So what got me into the episode or into the fandom and kind of my relationship with it. That sort of thing. And then there's just a lot of different directions that we kind of went from there. So that brought us into opportunities to talk about fun facts about the show and, you know, fan theories and hot takes about the series. And like all of those are kind of different little segments, I guess, that we talked about in a sense. We did so neither of them had seen, you know, I think Michael, our producer actually, had seen a couple of episodes and Ben hadn't seen any. So we watched an episode. And kind of, I got a little bit of their reaction to it after we've had a chance to talk about it. We talked about some of my favorite moments in the show. So that's kind of the format that we're imagining as we go on. Obviously it's going to change depending on what it is, you know, like, I mean, D&D is a little bit different because it's not a TV show, you know, like it's not the same kind of thing. So we're going to have to adjust as how we're going to approach it. But at some point, like that's going to be the basic idea. Like we've got this flow, and the main part of the episode, I would say like the biggest chunk is going to be the interview. You know what I mean? Like we're asking questions of whoever the guest is or whoever is acting as the guest. And then the hosts are just kind of, I guess in film and that sort of, like we're the straight man just trying to, we're trying to learn or trying to figure this out. Like we're the questioner. I don't know. Like I'm not good at terminology, but you get what I'm saying.
No, that
like
makes total sense.
We're trying to learn.
Yeah, that's cool. So do you have to be, so when you go to pick, because there's three of you. Yeah. When you go to pick who talks about what, do you guys only talk about like what you are aware of, or will there be a time where like you're gonna do something just for reference, The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Like, is that something you would do that you're not like super passionate about, but you would still have to pull in a ton of research to talk about all the statistics of it?
If we don't know a lot about it, like that's when we want to have somebody that's like we're bringing in to educate us. We're trying to make sure that the things that we're talking about are things that we have some background in, but when it's ultimately, like if we're bringing on a guest and they want to talk about something that none of us are really familiar with, then we all just kind of become the interviewer. We're all just kind of being, just educated by this person.
So do you break down to into the animation pieces and how things were developed and created, or like?
I wouldn't say a whole lot, because we're not like not a lot of production stuff, at least for me, because I didn't know a ton. I know some of the production stuff that's related to Bluey, but it's really, kind of, I'm sure how your podcast goes here too. You're kind of like letting the guests kind of lead you into where they've found their most passion out of. Like one of the things that we talked about during the Bluey episode is the kind of like some of these fan theories, and like I've seen them. Like, I'm aware of them because I don't know, I guess I'm initiated into the fandom, as it were. Yeah. But I haven't spent time, debating them and talking about them online, that sort of thing. So we just kind of gave the overview of what these fan theories were.
Okay, so fan theory, is that the same thing as like conspiracy theory?
I would say in some cases, yes.
Okay. Like, is there what's a fan theory about Bluey?
So the one that we get into in the show actually is about somebody has put in some thoughts as to whether or not Bluey is set in a post-apocalyptic world where dogs have taken over. And I'm like... that is not something that I put a lot of thought into. There are apparently people that have put a lot of thought into it, but I can't say that I put much into it, but it was fun to like bring up and just talk about on the podcast and just get a reaction from Michael and Ben. Like there's people that have went in, and it, obviously it's a fandom show, so I'm not going to sit here and scold anybody for how they interact with the fandom that they are passionate about. Like it's funny to me that's, that people spend that time on it, but I'm not going to say, oh, that's not good. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
So I'm not about shaming fandoms, I guess. Fandom shaming that's the only thing that's like off limits, I would say. We want to have fun with it. We want to be keeping it light and just enjoying, talking to people about their passions and that sort of thing.
That's great. I love that. And it opens up the conversation for people to, again, share what they're passionate about with other people.
Yeah.
Kind of like finding that common ground of let's talk and have a conversation, and let's just share what we know and what we don't know.
Well, my deepest hope is to kind of create a community. Mm-hmm. I want to have people that are interested in what is going out there. Not because, like, I've said this from the beginning, I'm not out to chase clout.
Right.
I could care, if we've got 12 listeners, great. If we've got 1,000 listeners, that's fantastic, whatever. But I really just want to create some. Actually, I'll say this, even before all of that, the biggest thing that this is about is it's a chance for me and my buddies that I've known for ages to get together and have conversations about things that we enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've probably experienced as a man in your 30s as well that as you get older, it can be harder to keep in contact with people. We've throughout our time being out of college had times when we've been less in contact, but now we all live relatively close to each other, and so it's really given us this opportunity to come together and have a creative endeavor, a creative outlet that we can use our collective expertise to create something and just have fun with it, truthfully. So that is, like, above all else, that's what it's about. But like, ultimately, if I could say, like, oh, well, what's the goal for what we're doing together, what am I hoping that will come of it, is kind of creating that community and hoping that people that maybe didn't know a lot about this particular fandom are like, you know what, I'm intrigued, let me go and check this out and maybe see if it's for me, or just go and kind of dabble in these things, because that's me. I feel like I have so many, I don't have really a whole lot that I have just a lot of depth into. There's some people that Star Wars is their life. They spend all their time. They've got all the Star Wars collectibles. They know everything. They know every piece of trivia and all of that. And I know a decent amount. It's one of my favorite things. But like, I am also into so many other fandoms that I've kind of dabbled in and just had some fun with. So I don't know. That's kind of the way that I look at it. Is because I am a dabbler, this is where that podcast comes in. That we just get to go in and go to all of these different fandoms, as many as we can possibly get into.
Yeah, that's so good. I love all that. You know, it's interesting. So like even with this podcast, I wanted it to just make it fun. You know, I love having conversations with people, hearing about what they're doing, what they're passionate about, their career or life or family or any, you know, life tweaks that they've adjusted over their course of being here on Earth. And but yeah, I think anybody who it doesn't just have to be podcast related, but like for me, I didn't want this to feel like work.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to have fun with, even with like when I'm editing everything, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's enjoyable and I do. So I know you use, or have told me that you use a subscription based platform to cut, clip and crop everything.
Yeah.
I still do custom everything.
I know. I am impressed by you.
That's one of my biggest things. Like I'm such a custom guy, even with my own stuff. It's like I can't pull the trigger yet on getting something.
I get it. No, I use, here we go, another business shout out here. I use something called Opus Clip that I'm sure you've had ads for it in your feed all the time.
It's taken over.
It really is.
But it really is.
It's a cool tool.
Yeah.
I mean, it is definitely, man, AI just blows my mind. We're back to it again. But like it just blows my mind as to what it does.
So,
and it really is just about, truthfully, it's just about socials more than anything. It's about trying to make it easier, because I don't know how long you're spending on a post for social media, but that's what it really comes down to, is like it just will pump out. I think I may or may not have told you this, but like I put in my episode and then it broke it into like 30 different clips that I could potentially post, and it's pre-edited so that it's already in the vertical alignment and all that stuff, and it'll split the clips so that you've got different face cams looking at it and all that. It's just blows my mind.
Machine. It's a machine.
And it's so good at, and even in my case, like I said, it does it better than what I could probably do even if I was doing it on my own. So that's the way that I look at it. But I respect to you for like
to me, I feel like to me now it's becoming like an old school thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you had all your old school. It's like, well, it's just I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure like the more, so like I save all the episodes I do once it's formatted and stuff. So like I'm sure once I get in the 50th episode or the 100th episode, then it might make sense for me to go, okay, let's use this platform. Let's use this machine tool, upload a video, create 30, 40, 50 clips out of 20 different sessions I had. Now let's flood the freaking market.
Just put it out there.
So everybody's been warned. Give it another year, maybe. You've been warned before. All you see is bears don't fly.
Putting it out there. No, I've really been, man. I think before I've really been enjoying your conversations on your podcast too, and listening in on them. I've done. I'm going to try and catch up on them because I'm a little bit behind. Yours is actually a longer one. Like this 2-hour long form conversation.
I hold a 1 hour minimum. That's a requirement. And, but the peak can go up to 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Which I think is nice for now. Until I get more into the development of the show, I'm fine with that. 'Cause listen, with your podcast, you at least had a foundation of topics that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing people on, and this is kind of like the different flavor, and that's why I love, what you guys are doing with your podcast. With Bears Don't Fly, it could be virtually about any topic.
Yeah.
So I've learned this when I did my first episode, the first 2 or 3 episodes, there was a real piece of vulnerability in me that was like, Sam, you got to be vulnerable on your show, because there's no there's topics, there's, kind of like a ballpark area of what we're going to talk about. But if we get into like heavy things, sentimental things, I'm very fortunate that I haven't had anybody serious about politics on, even though I have asked a few people who are heavy, very famous and popular people to come on the show. I got no response, but I'm not going to give up, I think it's just worth having a conversation with people from all sides, all spectrums. Yeah. But there's that vulnerability piece that I had to come into realization with. I was like, yep, you're going to have to be a bit vulnerable, Sam, because that keeps the show interesting and it keeps it real.
There's something to be said, too, for like the long form conversation. Like how often are we really sitting and watching like an unedited conversation take place.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be cuts, there's going to be things that are going in there, like no matter what you're doing. So like I can appreciate that it's like, hey, you know what, this is we're going through the steps and the natural flow and the way that the conversation will take branches off into different areas and stuff. I love that, man.
Well, and too, my main thing was like the whole reason why I was like, all right, let's make it official is because I feel like conversations are dying. Like people just aren't having them anymore, and if they are, they're 5 minutes, you know, and that makes it challenging too. Like I'm sure, like when we work weddings together, it's like we talk maybe 10 minutes throughout the entire time because we're working. There's moving pieces, you know. When is there an actual time, you know, that you can sit down with people for a long period of time and just talk with them? And, you know, I think that's when
doing the Lord's work. I appreciate
right?
that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Holy Jesus, you know, but that's the whole point, you know, and, you know, even with social media, it's like the attention span is a real thing that's happening. Like, people,
well, I'm sure you've noticed it in your analytics.
Oh
like,
my gosh, yeah,
the drop off and it, like,
after
I mean, it's
13 seconds,
yeah,
you're at 100%, and then boom, you're at negative 1,000. It's like, oh my gosh, people,
I feel
come
that.
on, you know,
hey, mine are shorter even, and I was like, okay, well, on YouTube, because that's the place where you can actually see like who's listened the entire time. It's like it drops off relatively quickly. So,
but I love. Oh, what was I gonna say? It's about having the fun piece. So like what you and your buddies are doing, it's just about having fun. And you know, I don't know if this thing will ever take off or become huge, but it's like I'm just having fun with it and I enjoy doing it and it doesn't feel like work. So
no doubt. No, I love that, man. That is awesome. What's so I mean, obviously you were established before this. I know you told me a little bit about your initial podcast before this. Was it
I've had quite a few.
Huh? Oh, you've had several podcasts? Oh, I didn't even know that.
Well, I think I've had 3.
Oh wow. Okay.
Maybe 2 or 3. The first, so this one, Bears Don't Fly, is actually a knockoff from the very first one, which was called Joyrides. And Joyrides was me going in cars with people. I'd meet them, pick them up. I'd have gear and mic set up in my car, and we'd drive to get coffee, and we would just talk in my car. Kind of like the concept, like Jerry Seinfeld meeting cars, getting coffee. Kind of like the same pitch. But that just became too much work.
Yeah.
I mean, too much work to set everything up because it was still my daily car. So like I'd have to set up cameras and mics and attach everything and go back and forth setting up camera angles.
Wild.
And
wow.
It was just too much in the end. Became very popular, but it was just too much for me.
Yeah.
And then when COVID hit, or not like post COVID, it was kind of like online Zoom called How to Entrepreneur, where I would have people on the Zooms and just talk about their business startups or, you know, how they curated what they're doing to make it a full-time thing. And I think I got like maybe 10 episodes into that. And then I got bored with it because Zoom calls are great for 10-minute meetings, not 45-minute conversations, because I need that personal connection with people.
Absolutely.
And so that died. And then there was maybe a 2 or 3 year gap where I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But I always wanted a studio setting. I always wanted to like make things official. And it was like 2 weeks before I launched my first episode. It was like I was in my office working, and it dawned on me, is like, Sam, you never use your living room.
Yeah.
Like I used to have couches, coffee, like it used to be a legit living room, but it's like you don't use your living room anymore. Just turn that into a studio. Make it official and just run with it. And so that's what I did. I went out that day, got all the paint and stuff, and a lot of the stuff was already throughout my apartment, or at least most of it was. But yeah, I was like, let's do it. Let's get it done.
That's awesome. Yeah, we toyed with the idea. So like there was a time when we were talking about the podcast is like, oh, would it be something that we could do digitally? Because there was, I mean, you know, out of convenience, like just being able to do something together. And, but now that things have kind of shifted, and you know, just the way that we are all kind of close together, we all agreed that hey, we can, even when we're having guests on and things like that, like we'd prefer to have everybody there in the studio. You know, being able to talk and it just relate
makes things
better,
more relatable, and I feel like people are willing to be more engaged with what you're doing if they see everybody's collectively together. There's just something about getting together with someone or a group of people and just having a conversation about, you know, whatever it is that they're passionate about, and I love it. It's fun.
Man, that's awesome.
So I'm side question, not side question, but relating still to your podcast, what are some fan theories for Star Wars?
Oh man, that's tough. We didn't did we dive too much into that? I don't know. We did talk about fan theories that
Or
time.
do you know any crazy fan theories for anything? Because I'm curious to know.
Not any. So like Star Wars, I feel like where the fandom goes tends to be, I don't know, man. Like I have such a love, I don't want to say a love-hate relationship with Star Wars fandom, but in some ways I do, because it's so hot. Like it's so intense to like one side or the other, and like I don't know, man. Like I love Star Wars. I get excited whenever there's new content coming out. I'll give it a shot, and even if it's not my favorite thing, it's kind of like, it's Star Wars. It's cool. I'm still getting more of the story.
Yeah.
And that's where I think there's more of that to talk about in Star Wars, because a lot of it, like if you're talking about fan theory in Star Wars, it'd be people that have created fan fictions and things like that, and the things that aren't actually canon, that they've just created those additional stories to kind of fill out the plot in the way that they want to. Which I haven't spent a lot of time in, like just fan created things. I've read one or two. So like the Legend series of books. They went from like essentially when Disney took over Star Wars, they said that that there was this whole entire, like this library of hundreds of books, I think at that point had been written, that are essentially Star Wars fan fiction. And then they said, hey, this is the Legend series. It's not canon anymore. Like this is not like goes with the entire story. We're kind of taking
like
that
true
out.
original Star Wars.
Yeah, because I think now Disney has a pretty good like, this is what is licensed lore that is real, and then there's like the side stuff that's like
Andor.
Well, that would be lore, so that'd be like official like canon stuff. The ones that were like some of the comic books that exist. There was a whole. This is part of the reason why like so many people were upset at like the sequel trilogy, was when because there had been stories in the Legend novels that had already imagined the storyline of Luke continuing and what was going to happen with him after the events of what is it, Return of the Jedi. And so when that changed and people didn't like the direction that it went, that's why you had so much backlash that came from that, because you had some of these fans that had read some of those works and were familiar with some of those backstories, I would say, those hardcore people. Because I'll be real, I haven't even I read the one that I can remember reading is I read the story. There's a book specifically about Obi-Wan Kenobi after the events of the prequel trilogy. So what happened with him? So I actually read it before they released the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney Plus, whenever that was, a few years ago. And so I read that story beforehand because I was like, I'm just curious, like, are they going to use any elements from that in this story that they're about ready to tell on Disney Plus? Not really.
No.
Okay. And you would think, what
well,
I mean? Like,
I've always heard the saying that like books were always better than the movies.
Yeah, it was. I would say, I mean, it was worth reading. Like I enjoyed it. It was definitely nothing like what the Kenobi series was, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. So that we didn't get too much into fan theories on there, because I think again it was more, that one was focused on. We didn't even get a lot into like fandom hot takes and stuff like that, because we were so narrowly focused on that original trilogy. And so we talked about the well, you listened to it. We did talk a lot about just the way that it holds up today, and some of our hot takes about what we thought about the trilogy and that sort of thing, because we all each of us had some background knowledge into it, and it's one of our favorite things to talk about. So,
and it was your first episode, which made it easier to kind of like open that door to dive into things. And
absolutely,
that's cool. That's fun. I would have never imagined I guess I never thought about the whole fan theory piece and how people can, or even using like Bluey as an example.
Yeah.
All people can be like,
There's
no, this came from this, and they're implying it, to like today's
Yes.
generation and stuff. And
What's the mystery? Like, I think that where the fan theories come in is when you've got IPs that will leave it kind of as a mystery. They're kind of stringing you along that they're
IPs,
going to be intellectual properties.
Okay.
That are kind of stringing you along, and they're purposefully wanting the people to kind of fill in the gaps. So, like, I guess where we could talk about fan theories would be like in the sequel trilogy when, like Rey's lineage was a big thing that was hotly debated after the first of the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
That was a big conversation between episode 7 and episode 8.
Okay.
And people, I mean, there were some passionate fans feeling one way or another about it. And that's where some of the heated nature of these Star Wars battles, like, man, they can just get. I just want to enjoy it. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
I want to love the stuff that's coming out. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan. I mean, I do like Star Wars, but I couldn't tell if there's any difference. I just watch the movies and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, while opposed there could be a fan sitting at theater 10 feet away, like beyond pissed.
Yeah.
Well,
I felt that way. Like, I've got unpopular Star Wars opinions anyways that I'm sure we'll get further into in that podcast too. But like, I mean, did you watch The Acolyte or no? Star Wars: The Acolyte. That was one of the more recent things series that came out on Disney Plus.
I know I watched. I think it was Andor. I think Andor was the most recent one that I watched.
That one was incredibly popular. Is
that the one with Jude Law?
No, Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew. That's the one I watched.
I didn't finish that one yet. I need to go back to that one because
I enjoyed it. I thought it was like cutesy, funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
It was good. I enjoyed the part that I watched. It's definitely different from something, and that was just it. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, you get so much of these.
So much.
Yeah. Like, I love when people get a chance to tell their stories, and you try not to judge too much so I'll give you a good example. So like Acolyte was one that a lot of people kind of, I mean, it was bashed all over. Like a lot of the fan base was just kind of ugly treating, and I enjoyed. There were some deserved criticisms of it, and I can admit that. But like, I don't know, man. I just hate that you didn't even they canceled it and didn't even get a chance to tell their full story just because there were so many people that were willing to. Oh, I'm gonna bash this all over. I can't even. You like that? That was terrible. Blah blah blah. And I just, man, like that. I don't want to focus on that. They certainly are. And I'm the same way. Like Andor, or actually Skeleton Crew also had that too. But like Andor is one of the most popular things that has come out Star Wars related, and I'll be real. Like I went back and forth on the fence about it. Like it was. I enjoy again because I'm not gonna sit there. I'm not about bashing the fandom that I actually enjoy, but and that's what I want the show to be about too, is like I want us to be able to talk about things and still like, hey, even if it's not my cup of tea, that's okay. Yeah. Like there's probably something else that maybe did come out that I was more passionate about this particular fandom or whatever it might be. So I think that's what it's about, is like I can recognize maybe some of the shortcomings and we can talk about those, but like we're not in here trying to just crap all over things that some people enjoy or like I said, the fandom shaming. I'm not that we're gonna coin that phrase. We're not fandom shaming.
That's fun. That's cool. Backtracking a little bit, would you ever go full time being a DJ? And would you continue to work for Lauren, or would you do your own thing as well?
Ooh, man, that's a good question. I don't think that I would. I mean, like I said, I told you about my calling as a teacher. I do feel like it's hard because when I think about, man, I'm going to have to teach for whatever it is, 25 more years or whatever I got to put in to get to my retirement. Like, it sounds like a lot, but I do truly believe that I've got a calling there that I am fulfilling, and I'm trying to get there. So I couldn't give it up. But if I did go and do DJing full time, it probably, I mean, to be honest, Jamar and I would probably branch off to get what would be the most likely thing to happen? The two of us getting together and like starting something of our own, if that was to happen. And Lauren, I mean, I'm not gonna say if Lauren, if you're listening, we're not planning to do that. All right,
but he's gonna listen to this if you're on it.
He would support it anyways. Like if we said that to him, he's like, yeah, you know what,
Lauren
like whatever. You know, he's an awesome dude. But yeah, if we ever did, because we have like kind of toyed with the like, oh man, what if we did like branch off and do our own thing? But like, you know, he works for the city and he really loves that. And, you know, I work as a teacher and I enjoy my work that I do there too. So it's kind of like, you know what? We're both kind of good.
Yeah.
Like working for Lauren, who's such an amazing dude and has really helped us both out a lot.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would, so kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier with like that organizational structure.
Yeah.
So I've done a couple of events that were my own this year and kind of dropped the ball in a couple places. And thankfully my clients have been great and, you know, understanding and that sort of thing. But it made me realize I'm like, I don't even want to do like my own events anymore. Like everybody, you booked me through Lauren now. He's my managing agent because like this is, it's a lot to keep track. Like, it's not even that it's a lot. Like I told you, it's all about the system. Like I have a system that's already in operation.
Yeah.
And then when you get outside of it, it throws off everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in free fall and I'm not keeping up with the things that I need to. So I kind of made that decision. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to send everybody through Lauren now. And if there's ever a thing like I want to give somebody a discount and accept a little bit less money, that's something that Lauren and I can work out together.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay, cool. I was just curious.
Yeah.
What got you into fandom? Like, what got you into the whole pop culture and being passionate about, you know, Star Wars or Bluey or any other categories and series?
Man, I feel like over the course of life I've been involved in so many different ones, you know, like there's so one of the first, I don't know, I guess the fandoms that I got involved with in some way, shape, or form, I was a big so as a kid, my two biggest cartoons that I enjoyed watching the most was Batman the animated series, like from the 90s. Did you ever watch that one?
Yep.
Yeah. And Scooby-Doo was another one that I loved. And so
one.
like as obviously those have kind of stood the test of time. Like they've been rebooted and things over the course of time have changed, and there's been movies that have came out about Batman, multiple iterations and all that good stuff. And so I'd say that was like my first step into it was those things. And then as time progressed, yeah, I mean, man, we've been in such like the golden age of just those properties continuing to develop things over the course of time.
Yeah.
And so that I would say is like why am I into fandoms? That's the reason. Like I mean that's everything. Like we spend so much time of like when something else cool comes out, like when the next Batman movie comes out, I'm like, man, I love Batman. Like that's my character. I'm so gonna go
There's
see
a childhood feeling that rises within you. Go, oh man.
Nostalgia is one of the most, I don't know, the strongest feelings out there.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think that's where everybody gets their fandom love from, is it's probably from something that they were into on some level in their childhood.
Yeah.
And then, there's been additional things that have been released as time has gone on. So, it's
kind of like growing with the age of things.
Yeah.
Like you were there for the cartoons. And then, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger being the Iceman. And, you have
what a time.
Danny DeVito being the Penguin.
Yes.
And, like, just seeing those things transpire over time. And
absolutely.
The Joker, Jim Carrey being the Joker.
Oh, no, he was the Riddler.
Or the Riddler. Uma Thurman. Remember, she was the Vine lady? Vine?
I didn't even realize. Now that you're saying that, I had forgotten who was Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy.
You definitely see that develop.
Uma Thurman. And so, the whole nostalgia piece, being, a child seeing those things was like the most fantastic thing ever.
Yeah.
And then seeing them progress today, with...
Well, you just think about the amount of content. Like, I mean, it's just crazy how much stuff that we get. And the things that people love, there's more of it than ever now. And that's really cool. I mean, especially when it comes to TV shows and movies and games and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many ways to relate to that. The previous generation didn't have that same amount of... Like, it is... an avalanche of things. And my dad, I'll give you an example. Like my dad, if he had a fandom that he was passionate about, he read, I don't know if you've ever heard of the author Louis L'Amour. He wrote a bunch
I've
of
heard the
Western
name.
novels, and
Yeah.
my dad is he's always been big into Westerns, and
Okay.
we've watched Westerns together, and that sort of thing. So like it's a fandom
Yeah.
that has developed throughout time, and unfortunately, like over time, some of like that one's fallen off some, and I think it's starting to cut. Like it always comes back around. I guess is the way you look at it. Like really, there's nothing new under the sun these days. It doesn't feel like
That's
everything
true.
is reinvented in some way, and it's just going to come back around again, just like Westerns are starting to become a popular genre of film.
Yellowstone.
Again. Yes.
Like
he was
holy
huge into that.
cow.
He's watched the different iterations of it and all
my
that
gosh.
stuff. Actually, Dad, if you're listening, which he probably won't, but no, that's what if I was going to have him on the fandom, I've got to have him talk about Westerns and maybe Yellowstone, because he's watched the different iterations of the show and knows the family story throughout all of that. Have you watched Yellowstone?
Oh yeah.
Did you?
Huge fan of Yellowstone.
Did you watch 1923 and 1893?
I tried to get into Harrison Ford's movies, the two, or at least the first one. I think the second
1923,
one was canceled.
Well, no, they're in the second. So it was a show, and they're in the second season just released. I think
he had a movie.
Oh, there was
like
a movie,
like Horizon or New Horizon.
Oh, I don't know if I saw that or not.
He put like 3 of his homes up for sale to fund this, and what I've seen is that
this
it was a
connected to
flop.
Yellowstone, or
It's not connected to Yellowstone.
Oh, okay.
It's connected to the TV show in some way.
okay.
Well,
1923. If you haven't watched that yet, that is that one. I didn't know about. I'm gonna have to look that up now.
Horizon. I think that's what it's called.
But yeah, they did release the second season of 1920. That's the one that I have watched.
Okay.
That one's really good. My dad has watched all
I'll
of
give it a
Yellowstone, and
shot
I've only
then.
seen a couple episodes of that one. But
So with Fandom of Fandoms, will you get into shows like Doug, Rocket Power?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Rugrats?
Maybe. I don't know if we'll go like that. Is some
Dog.
of those nostalgia pieces?
You know?
They're not on our list. I'll say that.
All right.
But I don't know. That's a good question.
Those were my favorite shows. Rocket Power.
We'll get into whatever. So kind of one of the things that I've kind of talked about with the guys is like, we're at some point we'll probably have to shift our focus from like, here's the topics that we would like to talk about, and trying to find people that are, have that interest or are passionate about it and trying to bring them in. We'll probably have to shift to like, well, who do we know that we can invite on? And like, then we can ask them, well, what do you want to talk about? You know what I mean? Like, what are you passionate about that you want to share and are willing to discuss? So that's a good question. Really, I think we're letting the guests lead the way.
Yeah,
I guess
even
is the way
at
to
some
answer
point
that.
too, when you get to the point where like you can throw up a questionnaire on social media, be like, hey, what 3 topics would you want to hear most about? It could be Rocket Power.
Yes.
Doug, Cat Dog, Pinky in the Brain.
I like it though, because going back and throwing back to like those old school, like those cartoons that you were into when you were a kid. That'd be a good one for sure to go and hit. Like, man, I'm just thinking about back when I was a kid watching SpongeBob, and that's still around today. Like, you could definitely go in and do find a SpongeBob fandom for sure.
Yeah.
But, man, there's just so many.
There's a lot.
We listed off, like on the initial document that my buddy sent to me, I think there were 50 or 60 things on there. And even since then, we've thought about 10 or 12 more things that we could add on that we have a passion in. And it's still not a complete list.
Well, the thing is, too, it'll be a never-ending thing. Yeah,
it's endless.
It's a forever thing. Especially, going back to like all the Batman shows, TV shows, movies for the past 30 years, 40 years, because like there's even Batman and stuff in like the 70s. So it's like,
but I think the big thing is like, really, when it comes down to it, I think it's similar to you. Like, I value good conversation. I value the ability to find enjoyment in things and talk about that, and it's so much fun that when people are talking about things that they are passionate about, they light up. You know what I mean? Like when you find that interest and then a person opens up about it, I mean, you can see people that are introverts like just come alive because we're talking about things that we're passionate about, and
visual organization.
Yeah,
visual organization. That's what it's called. It just light
bulb.
bulb.
Is that what you?
Yep. It's light bulb. Visual organizer.
That's what you are. You're a visual organizer.
A visual organizer.
What are the other organizing.
I know the other one was
here.
the opposite, like a closed organizer,
Okay.
where you have to put everything in cupboards and
Okay.
make sure there's doors, and you kind of just like throw it in there, but you know what's in there, kind of
Yeah.
like your TV and the cable and wires and stuff.
Sure.
Like you'll just throw the VCR, the DVR, the DVD player, the modem, all the things. You don't care about the wires. You just shove it in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's your closed organization. So, and there was another one. There were a few, but visual
Nice.
organizer. That's
Okay.
that's what I am. So
it always comes back.
it
Right?
did, yeah, I know. I knew
That's
it
funny.
was going to come back to me because I said open organizer, and it's like
I've never put a lot of
that's
thought
not
into
what
it.
it's
Like I said,
called.
I was a chaos organizer,
it's-
and I always have
It's
been.
visual organizer.
When I was I can remember being a kid and being, I would get in trouble because I was the kid that's got the messy papers in my book bag and all of that. Like,
oh, you were that kid.
trying to find stuff in there. My wife would make fun of me how I could never find anything. She has to go and find things for me. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's tough, and especially now in my life is like because I am not the most organized person anyways.
Yeah.
And then, when you're living with other people and you got young kids and everything, it makes that organizational structure that much harder.
Yeah.
And we've got a small house. Like, so there's parts of me that like I want to be more organized in certain things, but like you're at the
It just
whim of
doesn't
other
work,
people. Yeah. Like there's some of that going on, but I don't know. I'll say this. I have developed much more in that area than I like as a kid. Terrible. Like I had the reputation of being an unorganized kid, and that it was the truth. And all the way through college, I would say that was true. And now as I've gotten older and matured a little bit, I've found the things that work for me, and I'm starting to be
That works.
more organized in some capacity. And I do appreciate it too. Like I think the tough part for me is like getting it started. Like creating that organizational structure, because once it exists, it's kind of nice. You know what I mean? Like you've got a place, everything's got its where things go and that sort of thing. But for for whatever reason, probably the same way that like I struggle with starting things like from scratch. Man, that is my shoot. I've heard a lot of people talk about it as like an ADHD style in a sense.
Okay.
Like you are that person that I struggle to start things. And man, it is.
Okay.
That's my life.
Okay. Hey, what works? Really, really side question.
Yeah.
Completely off topic. What is your favorite thing about your wife?
That is a side thing.
It's a
for
very.
sure.
It was just.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. She is legitimately funny in a lot of ways, and most of the time it's in ways that she doesn't even mean to be. Like she'll just will make off the cuff remarks, and sometimes they're like I'll razz her for it and embarrass her a little bit, like, but she will just say some funny stuff sometimes, and it's great. And I guess going along with that, well, I guess it's not really the same thing, but like I thought of two things that jumped to mind immediately.
Okay.
My wife is a caretaker. She shows that to everyone in her life, and is such a giving, generous person with her time and money and just all of it, and just wants everyone to be taken care of. And I appreciate her so much for that. For sure.
Cool. I was just curious. Yeah, it was a really random question. I was like, let's ask Nick.
We're going personal.
Yeah,
now.
let's,
All right, here we
ask him
go.
like a personal question. So how old are your kids?
I've got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old.
So they're youngins.
They are, yeah.
They're youngins.
They're both. So their birthdays are 2 days apart, actually. A year and 2 days.
Okay.
A year and 2 days. No,
2
years. So,
2 years.
Sorry. Man,
we both said we're not good at math. So.
Yes, no, I'm not. Yes, 2 years and 2 days apart. That's what it is. But yeah, so they'll both be turning 4 and 2 within 2 days of each other.
Okay.
That's in September. So yeah, young kids for sure. Takes up a lot of my time, and obviously, that was where the love of Bluey came from, and that was what I used as my fandom. So
that's cool. Is it 2 boys, 2 girls, girl?
I got a boy and a girl. Oldest is a boy. That's Joel, and then Kyla's gonna be 2 in September. So,
very cool.
Yeah. But
is there any plans in the future to have more kids? Or
that's always the question, isn't it?
No, it is.
We do want one more.
Actually, I asked. So real quick, I had asked somebody, my friend Becca. She had just had a kid, and I was at her parents' house hanging out. She came over with her husband Tyler, and they walk in with this newborn baby, and the first thing I asked was, "So you gonna have any more?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "I don't
I'm
know
going
why."
to kill you. That's what she said.
Right? She was like, "Samuel, you never ask a woman that after she just had a baby." And in my head, I'm thinking,
everybody asks that.
in my
That's the
head, I'm
question.
thinking, what's the big deal? I was just like, you got a cute kid. Congratulations. You and Tyler gonna have any more? You know?
No, we we've always so my wife and I have been on the same page about this. We've always wanted 3.
Okay.
So at some point there'll probably be a bookend. And I don't know, we'll see.
Cool.
Like from there, that's the number that we kind of like knew from the beginning. And
Okay.
we'll kind of reevaluate from then if there are anything that comes after that.
Right.
But that's the number that we had always kind of liked, I guess.
Okay.
So it's just me and my sister, and then she has a sister as well.
Okay.
So we're kind of she has 2 half brothers as well. They're quite a bit older than her, so she didn't really have that as a part of like a lot of relationship with them. So like really we both kind of come from 2 child households.
Okay.
And so we both kind of wanted to experience a little bit more of like a little bit bigger family.
Okay.
Without having a crap ton of kids for sure and putting her through all of that.
Yeah. I know a guy who has 12 kids.
Oh man. That's
12
that
kids.
is a lot. We're so we go to a church, and that's always the joke of like our pastors have 7 kids. They co-pastor together, husband and wife, and they've got 7 kids. And then there's excuse me. There are several other larger families that have like 6 or 7 kids within our church as well,
which is great. More power to them.
It is.
You know, hey, if you can do it to it. Yeah. So that's cool. That's cool. What was your wife's name?
Tori.
How did you and Tori meet?
Ooh, okay. So we it's actually is connected to education as well.
Okay.
So my wife is a teacher. She is currently teaching preschool. She's kind of ran through the gamut of things, but anyways, we met in college.
Okay.
So we were both education majors, and inside, actually, Jamar is in this story as well. Come to think,
here we go again.
He brings people
Go
together.
Jamar, you know.
Yeah, because Jamar and I also we went to the same college together.
Yep.
We were roommates together our freshman year. So my wife and I both education majors, and so there's a space in the library that was specifically for people that majored in education. It was the Educational Resource Center, something like, I don't know, whatever. It was in the basement of the library, funny enough. She happened to be down in the basement working on a project, and I went down there to work on something, and I noticed she was wearing a sweatshirt from a summer camp that I had worked at the previous summer. And I didn't recognize her from having worked at that camp, and so I was kind of intrigued. Like right off the bat, I saw her in that sweatshirt. I was like, "Oh,
of course you were.
Who's that girl over there?
Yeah.
She's cute." I didn't see her working there last year, so kind of that was what initially like I saw that, and that was the first kind of point of. I got to talk to this girl. I got to figure out like what's the story there. I worked there last summer, so I guess I don't know if I talked to her that night or not. When we were working down in the library together, it's. I feel like after 10 years, you start to forget some of the details of things. But we
just do the best you can.
Hey,
Tori, give the man grace. Okay.
Well, she does like to bring up. She's got the message. So like the initial message that I sent her when I friend requested her on Facebook is still saved on her phone. And she likes to show it around to people to embarrass me, to show what my game was like in
Hey girl, saw you in the basement of the library. You was wearing something that I recognized.
I played it very smooth. So I will say this. I did approach her and talk to her first before having, I didn't just like, I'm going to message her up on Facebook.
Yeah.
It was after we had talked a couple of times, whatever. And then I sent her a message, something about like, I don't know. I used the excuse that she popped up in my friend's suggestions. I don't know if that was the truth or not. It's too many years ago. I don't remember all the details.
Tori, if you watch this, leave a comment on what Nick actually said.
She'll probably post a picture of it. Yeah, this is. But yeah, no, she loves to share that out there. So where Jamar comes into the story is so. he had a connection point with Tori because he knew her roommate. I'm trying to remember because she was a freshman. He knew her roommate. So
Okay.
her he had a friend that like was friends with her roommate,
Okay.
and that was kind of the connection point there somehow. Like it was, man, that's what ended up happening. And so Jamar is the type of guy. I'm sure if you've spent any time around us, you know that he likes to razz me, likes to get up in there and just like, I don't know, encourage me to do goofy stuff.
Yep.
And
Makes sense.
That's
Makes
who
sense.
he is, and that's who we are together
Yeah.
for sure. But he was the one that ensured that I didn't let this get, like, I was so the story that he loves to tell and what he told at our wedding was that it was a small campus. So like after, it's kind of like, when you drive off the lot in a car and then you see the car that you just bought everywhere, like it's at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
So like once I saw this girl down in the library, then you start noticing her all over campus and like where she's sitting. Oh, she's sitting over there at lunch and whatever. Oh, there she is walking across the quad and all that good stuff. And so we're walking out of one of the buildings at campus, and Jamar knew I was interested in Tori, and he shouts across the way. She's somewhere walking with one or two of her friends, whatever, like, "Hey, Nick wants your number." It's like, oh my gosh. So that was
Sounds like something Jamar would do.
He did. That was what happened, and he definitely sped things along. That's for sure. Like he helped us to get. We might have gotten there eventually ourselves, but he definitely helped to make.
What you would have done is
make it
open the
happen.
door. He just decided to kick it open.
Exactly. Yeah. No. He. I definitely have to credit him. He was a part of
That's fun.
the story for sure, and
Yeah.
he loves that. He enjoyed telling that story at the wedding for sure.
That's fun. That's so cool. I love that. And now here you are.
Here we are,
10
10
years
years
later, 2 kids, and
Yes.
you
living
lived
the
in
dream.
Arizona together. Now you're back in
did.
Ohio, both in the educational
We
program,
are
and
so happy with the life that we have built together for sure. So
that's good,
that's
man.
Awesome.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, we're nearing towards the end. Is there any you want to shoot a plug in for your podcast, or
Sure, absolutely, yeah. We've
the
talked.
center.
Oh, at the center. I got you. Yeah, no, we're so we just recorded that second episode. We've obviously talked a lot about kind of the premise of the show. If you're interested in that sort of thing, or even if you're not, go and check us out, share something. I know same thing I know Bears Don't Fly appreciates this too. The more that you can share and get the word out, it just helps so much to have more people involved, and maybe potentially that they wouldn't have known about the show than they do.
Now
all of a
they
sudden.
do.
So,
Yeah.
But yeah, Fandom of Fandoms. We're on Instagram, Threads, Facebook. We're everywhere you get your podcasts. We've got a video feed. I took it on right from the start that I was like, you know what? Because I initially was like, I'm just going to edit together clips to post on social media and stuff. And it's like, well, if you're editing clips, you might as well just do the whole thing. So we started.
Yep.
We started right from then, just recording the entire episode, putting that out on YouTube. So that's fun for that video feed for sure.
Verbally say your Instagram name.
Yeah, it's FOF.pod, P-O-D.
Okay.
So at FOF.pod.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
that's
way
right.
people know. And I'll be sure to tag all that on socials and stuff. So,
But no, I'm so appreciative of you inviting me and having me on. And
heck yeah, man.
It's awesome. I've really enjoyed our conversation tonight, and I've really enjoyed getting to work with you at weddings. I'm hopeful that we get to do another one soon for sure.
Yeah. It's always a great time. It's always fun. So typically, on average, like when I talk with people and they're really engaging in just a first meetup conversation, my mind goes, they'd be good for a podcast. So I knew we talked, weeks ago. Gosh, it might have been like a month or 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like we both knew you were going to come on the show, just a matter of when. But yeah, man, it's been great having you on. I loved hearing and listening to all the things fandom related, and a little bit about your past and, your marriage and kids and how you met Tori and all the things. So that was good, man. I appreciate it.
It's fun to tell those stories. I appreciate having the space to tell the stories for sure.
Man. Awesome. Well, as always, go to bearsdon'tfly.com for additional information and all the links, but subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And I think that's it. My words are starting to get like slurred up because there's
Man, we haven't even been drinking.
I know. There's just so much.
Oh,
There's
man.
so much. But yeah, good deal. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you.